Hey everybody, Mark Herman, aka LA Bengals fan on most of the major platforms. I am joined here, as always, with my partner in crime, Sam Schneider. And this is the week 5 preview of Jungle Talk.
Who
Yeah.
knows, baby?
Who
Let's
day?
go.
Who
Prime
day?
time.
All
Prime
right.
time.
And I decided today I'd wear I'd sport the Bengals West shirt today.
That's right, baby.
Why not? The Bengal Stripe, California. But what we're gonna do, like we always do, we're gonna touch on a little bit of news. Then we're gonna talk about the things we're feeling good about and things we're not feeling good about, and then we're gonna do our score predictions. And this is a big week. This is Dirty Bird week.
That's right, baby.
Dirty
It's
Bird
division
week.
game.
Yeah.
Division game. Better show up, especially on prime time.
Yeah, and we are the Sunday night game, so this is our second primetime game in a row. Um, you know, so this is a big week for us. So let's hit everything. The first thing I want to talk about is Tua. I saw on Twitter there was still a lot of Dolphin fans blaming us for the Tua injury,
Right.
and guys, that first of all, the hit was nothing.
Nope.
Somebody, I don't care how hard they throw you down on the ground. Burrow was thrown down to the ground harder by TJ Watt in week 1, or was it last year when he got intercepted and TJ Watt took the advantage and tossed him to the ground? The bottom line is that Tua was suffering from a concussion. He was still, that's why this nothing hit led to that. So
Yeah, well, and I don't know if you saw my post on Twitter. Um, once people went back and kind of looked at the Buffalo game frame by frame before he stumbled to the ground, he did the fencing thing in that game too. It's just they glossed over it so quickly in that game. So I mean, that should have been a dead giveaway. He had a concussion in the Buffalo game before he returned, and then did it again in our game. And there's a reason he did it again. It's because you can't play 4 days later. I
yeah.
mean, he obviously he's not playing this week, but the next time it happens, you're going to start talking about somebody who, if they value their personal life, their family, whatever, what have you, somebody that might have to actually look at themselves in the mirror and say, God, I might need to retire. This is obviously a danger. There are some people that are more susceptible to concussions than others, and if that's the case with Tua, then he might have to get out.
Yeah, it's the thing is, as boxers, and this goes back 30, 40 years, maybe even longer, after a fight, you are not allowed to train for 30 days,
Right.
even if you weren't knocked out. The boxing authorities, whether it was WBA or WBC at the time, they absolutely require you cannot enter the ring with gloves on and train in any way for 30 days.
Right.
And
Nope.
that's even if you weren't knocked out. So they already recognize that football, here we would race these guys out. Tua just should have been out there. This has nothing to do with the hit. That he
Yeah,
shouldn't have been
no,
out there.
yeah. I was gonna say, to your point, I didn't mean to take away from that. To your point, there was nothing wrong with that hit. It was a football play. There was nothing malicious about it. I guess, I think we all know that when it's your team and when it's your guy, a lot of times you point fingers, whether you honestly believe that's the case or not. So I'm not surprised that there's still people coming out of the woodwork, kind of blaming us for it, and so on and so forth. But there was nothing wrong with the hit. It's just at some point you got to point the finger at your own team
Yeah,
and say, "Hey, he shouldn't have been out there."
right. No, there's no question. And the
And
league,
Tua should too. He should be pointing his finger
well,
and
they're
saying,
the
I trust
NFLPA.
you to look out for my best
Yeah,
interest.
the NFLPA and the NFL are going to be interviewing Tua personally this week.
Yeah,
So
and
I know those interviews are happening. So
they already fired the independent doctor
yeah.
who
So
cleared him to return. I gotta be honest, if I'm the Miami Dolphins coach or a member of the Miami Dolphins training camp, when that doctor cleared him and said it's okay if he gets back out there, I'd probably be over there like, I don't know. I like I be a team doctor is not just nobody. You know what I
Right.
mean? Maybe he
Right.
doesn't have the exact same training that the independent guy that the league assigned does, but still, I'd be like, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah. So it's a bad, like I said, I just speedy recovery, but we're
Yeah,
not to blame,
all the
guys.
best,
So
all the best to Tua. I hope he comes back. I hope he never has issues with it again.
yeah. So we got some good news. We got Khalid Kareem back and
Yep,
we got Cam Taylor Britt back. So
right.
these are two great, well, another defensive lineman. Yeah, with Reader out, I'm happy. So those were two good
Yeah,
additions.
yeah, and Kareem, I think will get an opportunity to rotate in here and there. Um, I don't think we're going to see Cam Taylor Britt aside from special teams. It's
Right.
not because he's not talented, but if Dax can't get on the field in our secondary, which has played well, then
Right.
Cam Taylor Britt's not getting on there either.
Yeah. But it's depth, it's players back.
It
I'm happy
is
about that.
it is depth, and if there is any injury to anybody else in the starting rotation, then it's nice to know that we have these two high draft picks ready to step up.
No. And the last thing it was the Mixon had a meeting with the O line this week. So I think they're trying to work on they seem to be coming around on the pass blocking. They're not 100% back there yet, but it's getting better. Having only given up 3 sacks in the last 2 games,
Yeah,
and so now they got to work on the run blocking. So I'm glad that they're communicating, and so hopefully we'll see some progression or something this week with the
yeah.
run game.
It's like we said in the recap last week. My fear was that they've been so maligned in the pass schemes that it's almost like they forgot how to run block because they're constantly thinking about the pass blocking. Um, it shouldn't be that way.
Right.
Obviously, they do all know how to run block, but you want you want them to be aware of both of those things.
Kappa, Karros, Collins, these are veterans.
Right.
These guys this is not their first rodeo. So, Jonah Williams obviously have a rookie in Volson and Jonah Williams, but the other three are veteran guys. So
Yeah.
we know they can run block better than they're doing. So it's about blocking as a unit. Well,
Yeah,
let's
and Lael's been limited, didn't practice today, but it's exactly what you and I have already discussed.
yeah,
He's a veteran. They're giving him the time off. We know he's going to deal with this injury all season.
yeah.
It makes sense that he's not out there. It doesn't concern me at all. I know he's going to be ready to go on Sunday night.
Yeah. So let's do what we always do and have for years. And let's talk about the things we're feeling good about and things we're not feeling good about. And we always start with the negative to get that out of the way. You know, the Ravens are on a 5-game losing streak at home, and all streaks end. That's my and that this is something they want to end sooner rather than later. I'd
Sure.
like to make it a 6-game losing streak, and then they can go ahead and end their streak. But
Right.
that troubles me when you've got a team that knows they're on a losing streak and they're looking to end it. A little more pressure. So that's something that I'm not feeling good about. And I think this team's pissed. Last year, we didn't just beat these guys, we humiliated these guys.
Yeah. Big
And
time.
they've thought about it all year long. Believe me, they looked at it and said, wow. And they see a primetime game, Bengals at home, national audience after being embarrassed both times last year. That's the kind of stuff that bothers me. It makes
Well,
our win harder this Sunday.
yeah, and Lamar didn't play in the second game.
No,
You know what I mean? And I'm sure he wishes that he was out there. So he's got to have that kind of feeling of I want to get out there and show them what I would have done in the second game last year after they embarrassed me in the first one.
right,
And that's a thing that I'm not feeling good about. I'm never feeling good about going up against Lamar Jackson.
right,
You know what I mean? And they just got J.K. Dobbins. And they're going to be playing AFC North football. They're going to ground and pound.
right,
You can't stop Lamar. You can't stop him. We need to do what we have done this season, what our defense, who has given up 4 touchdowns in 4 games
right,
this year, we need to do what we've done best, which is bend, don't break.
right.
So Is Lamar going to break off a couple 20-yard runs? I think he probably will.
Yeah.
I think he will, but just keep him from that 60-yarder to the house. Let's not have any of those.
Right. I agree. Mark Andrews. I mean, he
Yeah,
always
I knew
plays
one
well
of us.
against
I
us.
knew one of us was going to go there
Oh
too.
yeah, no, he's like I said, he's one of their best target. And
I would call him a Bengal killer, but he's like an everybody killer.
yeah, it's
You
no,
know what I
he's
mean? He's that good.
yeah,
He is. You can make an argument between him and Kelsey, who is TE1 in the NFL.
right. Well, you could if looking at the numbers, Kelsey's off to a slow start. So
Right.
Andrews did for this year, 2022, Andrews hands down. It's not even close. He's
Right.
TE1 because he's having a great start to the
Didn't
season.
Kelsey miss a game? Did Kelsey miss one
I don't
game
remember
or
if we
no?
missed a game or just, but
I
he
could be
hasn't been
wrong. I could be
targeted that
wrong.
much. And the one thing that the Chiefs have been doing is spreading the ball around more. So you're not seeing it used to be Hill and Kelsey, and then there would be just a smattering of a few other. But now, Mahomes is really moving it around with Hill gone.
Well, yeah, and Kelsey needed Hill. He needed that stretch, that field
Right,
stretch. Um, but Mark Andrews doesn't need that from
no,
anybody. Mark Andrews is just, I mean, he's 7-Eleven. He's
right,
open 24 hours.
yeah,
He's always there. So, especially since I think Jermaine Pratt's probably going to play, but he's coming back from injury, so he might be slowed a little bit. Um, even though Logan Wilson has been playing well and Akeem Davis Gaither did a great job filling
yes,
in. Um, it's still Andrews is a smart player and he's really good at finding that soft spot in the zone, and he can beat most of the linebackers in this league.
right. The only other thing I have is um is our overconfidence. I'm afraid we're going to go into this thing. We got this.
Right.
We schooled these guys last year, kind of thing. This every game's different, and the more you dominate somebody, the more they're looking to really give it back to you tenfold, and
Yeah.
that's why this game worries me. I mean,
Yeah, I have the same feeling. Although what I will say is I think our guys are very aware that they still have not put it all together yet.
right,
Um, and they want to. And this is an opportunity for them to, based on the past defense of Baltimore. Um, so hopefully they will still come in hungry. Burrow plays good in prime time. A lot of our guys nowadays play good in prime time, which is something that we didn't have
oh,
for
that's
quite a long time.
That's one of the biggest changes going back to Carson Palmer. We couldn't win in prime time. And then Andy
Right.
Dalton was horrible in prime time. So it's been a real change having a team that really steps up when the lights are on instead of going into a frightened turtle shell.
Yeah,
So
Just Shiesty just he relishes these moments.
yes,
He loves it. So that's a really encouraging thing for not having a guy that just wanted to go out there, did like no nerves. He was just like, yes,
right.
turn the lights on, let's go.
Right. So that was it. And then the last thing I have is kind of, and I'll transition over to the good because it's both. It's, I feel really good about the way our defense has played. And you had the same stat I have. We've only allowed 4 touchdowns in 4 games. But the flip side is we haven't played an offense like Baltimore.
Right.
I mean, we just haven't. Tua was knocked out, and the Dolphins, we showed in a graphic that the Dolphins won Buffalo by smoke and mirrors. I mean, they had 220
Yeah.
yards total offense, 30 yards rushing. I mean, they hardly were the offensive juggernaut. So
No,
we,
no.
we haven't we haven't faced an offense like Baltimore yet.
People seemed to create an offensive juggernaut in Miami. The talking heads on TV.
Right.
They seem to play it off as though Miami was some juggernaut. But really what happened was they scored like 40 plus points against who? Baltimore.
Right.
They kicked the crap out of Baltimore, but other than that, they really hadn't done very much at all.
After getting way behind. See,
Yeah,
Baltimore had no
that's right.
choice but to
Yeah,
come out and sling it. It was like a 3 touchdown difference at halftime. They had to come out and sling it. And fortunately, they did knock off the Ravens.
right.
So we were happy about that. But the bottom line is that, the following week, we saw the Miami offense at its, who they are. And that was, the Buffalo game.
Yeah, it's looking like Baltimore is going to be playing without the wide receiver Bateman. No,
Yeah.
Bateman's in Arizona.
No,
Or is
Berryman, isn't it?
no. That's Tampa Bay. I get Bateman and the other guy from Arizona confused.
Right.
I can't remember which,
No,
but
no,
one
no.
of them.
It's Rashad Bateman.
Yeah, Bateman. Okay, so
Okay.
it looks
Yeah.
like he's probably not going to play. And even Devin Duvernay, who's more of a special teams ace, but he's got 170 something yards this year receiving. He's a little banged up. Again, we got to worry about Mark Andrews still. But taking somebody out of that wide receiver core certainly could help us. But like we said earlier, Baltimore's going to come out looking to run the ball. They're going to look to run it with Lamar. They're going to look to run it with J.K. Dobbins now that they finally have him on the field.
Right.
And he's really talented, even though he's only got, I think, 3.2 yards a carry thus far. He just hasn't played very much. All it takes is breaking off one big one, and
Yeah.
that average goes way up.
Yeah.
So, basically our defense just needs to do what it's done so far this season. You know
Right.
what I mean? The secondary's played well. The D line has played well. Without Reader, we got to be ready for Dobbins and Lamar.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, and then let's get into some of the good stuff. I mean, this team's built to beat the Ravens. I mean, it was
Absolutely.
constructed to contain Lamar. Our ends need to stay home. Our linebackers and DBs are good tacklers. This team is built around beating Baltimore.
Yep.
That's how it was constructed. So we have that going for us, but they still have to get out there and execute.
Yeah.
You have to get out there and execute. And the other thing I have is, their defense, although their defense has made some very big plays, their defense and they have 7 interceptions. Their defense has had many blown coverages, which is
Yep.
why they blew the game against Miami. And then the following week, they blew a lead against Buffalo.
Yeah,
So,
statistically, they have one of the worst secondaries in the league.
right.
I think they're more talented than that.
Yes.
But I mean, on paper, it's you can't really deny it. I mean, it's when Miami and Baltimore played against each other, it was like these are the two worst secondaries in the NFL. And it showed by
Well,
their
that's why you had 70 points or
experience.
whatever it was, you
Yeah.
know. So, but I do feel good that I think we can get to, if we can keep Burrow upright and he gets rid of the ball. I think we can burn the secondary. But like I said, I agree with you. I think the personnel is better, and I think they realize when they see the PFF scores and all that, players look at that and they know, okay, I need to step up. It's motivational for them, and I think they're going to use that motivation this week. So, and like I said, we laid this was the whole thing about we're not going to take our foot off the gas. This isn't Pop Warner. I mean, all the comments from last year from this team, which was fine. At the end of last year, we didn't have to play him again last year.
Right.
But now here we are, and don't think that Harbaugh's not refreshing their memory on all of this.
Oh God, yes.
So,
Yes. Are you kidding me? Every day he's probably telling them the score of those two games.
oh yeah, and they've
Um,
watched those games again. I guarantee
I
it.
mean, Burrow threw for almost 1,000 yards in those
Yeah,
two
and
games.
it's
I
yeah,
mean, it's ridiculous.
right. So,
Yeah, I think it's going to be important to have T. Higgins there. He's got an ankle injury, and with a wide receiver, that's always a little nerve wracking. I believe he went limited. The problem is when they say somebody went limited, for all we know, that mean he could have just been running through tires
right,
on the practice field.
right.
Um, so hopefully Higgins will be good to go with the ankle. McPherson's got a groin for a kicker. That's a little nerve wracking
He
too.
was full practice today. So,
Yeah, and and he's young, and he's a gamer. So I imagine he's going to be okay. I just don't want him to pull it again during the game. And now all of a sudden we're running out our back end tight end to try to kick.
Right.
Try to
Yeah. We already
kick a
saw the
field goal.
whole long snapper and
Right,
so
right.
we're not looking.
Run Mitchell Wilcox out there to kick a field goal.
Yeah. Well,
Although the Chiefs, although the Chiefs did it with their defensive back, he kicked one through the end zone on a kickoff when Butker went out,
yeah.
and I think nailed 2 field goals and an extra point. But I digress. Hurst has a groin too, but man, he's a big guy. He's a gamer. I can't imagine there's any way he's going to miss this game either.
Yeah. Well, and that was my last one was Hayden Hurst. I mean, you got to know he's got just as motivated as they are to
Sure.
exercise last year's games. Hurst is would like to get in there and show him, hey, you kicked me to the curb. I think he went to Atlanta.
Yeah, he was in Atlanta for I think just 1 year.
Yeah, so they was that he's looked at these games.
Yeah, and
So,
speaking of which, actually, he had a nice interview this week where he said, I was in Baltimore, I was in Atlanta, and now I finally feel like I found a home.
yeah,
And that's always so cool to hear. You know what I mean? When a
right.
guy says, "This is my team. This
Mm,
is I'm in the right place now." Speaking of tight ends, a CSC also has I think an ankle injury
yes,
and
he was
ankle
limited,
related. Yeah,
limited
he
practice.
was limited. I want to see him get out there because ever since Sample went down and a CSC was activated, he has single-handedly made our offensive line so much better. His blocking has just been outstanding. I don't care if he catches a pass. If he
Right,
keeps blocking like that, I want him out there all day, every day.
all day, every day. So, all right. Well, let's. Do you have anything else you wanted to add that you're feeling good about?
No, not at all. I think we're good.
Okay, and then all right. Well, let's get into predictions here. So this is yeah. You want to go first? You want me to go first? I think
Up
I
to
went first.
you.
Yeah, I went first last time. You go.
Okay, I think I do think we can exploit the Baltimore secondary. I said that I think they're better than what they've shown so far. I think in prime time, um, uh, they're going to show up. I think Harbaugh, as much as I hate him, is a pretty good coach. He always has his team ready. But I do think we can exploit that secondary. I think Mixon gets a little more room to run. I don't expect him to go nuts or anything, but um, I'm gonna say I think the total in this game is around 47 or 48. Baltimore is giving up 3 points, which basically means Vegas thinks it's even. They're just giving Baltimore the 3 points because they're at
Home
home.
field. Yeah.
But I think the Bengals win this game, and I'm going to say 31-27. So I think we will easily go over and obviously cover the spread because we win.
Yeah, I actually I've got a similar spread in score, but I'm not quite as high scoring. I don't have a scoring 30. I think this is going to be decided by McPherson at the last minute. And I could be just as easily decided by Tucker at the last minute where we lose a
Sure.
close one. So with that said, I think you take the Bengals and the points. I think you absolutely tease the Bengals. And you tease the over too, because you can get the over down to like 41 and a half. So, but I've got it 27-24 is what I've got it
Gotcha.
on a
Gotcha.
last. And like I said, and this game, what frightens me is this game could just as easily be 27-24 Ravens. It's
Yeah, absolutely.
that kind of game. It's good. A turnover, a sack, a huge penalty at the wrong time. I mean, that's could be the difference in this game. So,
There's so many people out there kind of discount kickers in general. It's kind of a part of the game that nobody or not nobody, but not a lot of people seem to really appreciate. But I think games like this are fun because Tucker is, arguably already one of the best kickers to ever play.
right.
And McPherson is arguably the best young kicker to come into the league in the last several years.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting to see how many opportunities those guys get, how willing each team is to line them up from real far away, based on weather conditions, obviously.
Right.
So that'll be kind of interesting and a fun little subplot.
Yeah, both of these kickers can routinely knock in 50-yarders. I mean, it used to be
Absolutely.
that, oh my gosh, it's a 50-yarder. Now, with kickers like this, they make the majority of them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, honestly, either one of these guys lining up for a 60-yarder on Sunday night, not a shock.
yeah, not at
Would
all.
not be a shock at all. And it
Right.
wouldn't be a shock for the game to end on a 60-yarder either.
Or right before half. Yeah.
That's
No,
right.
those two guys are going to be a key. And like I said, I think one of them is the final one, raising their arms at the end. And I'm hoping it's McPherson, because we could really 3 in a row, 3-2. We top of the division. This would keep the train rolling. So,
Right.
because our schedule gets more favorable after this game.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. All right, and the last thing's on a personal note. For those of you who follow me on Twitter, you know that I went to the pound, the shelter, called it the pound when I was a kid, and I rescued these two beautiful cats, which I named Chase and Burrow. So they're Chase and Burrow. They're in the other room. As you can see, they're taking a break right now. It's their bye week, so to speak. So
Yeah, they don't care about Indianapolis versus Denver.
no, that's going to sleep through that game. They're like, wake me up on Sunday. But no, these two are awesome. They're 5 months and 8 months. Bengal stripes. So there it is. I wanted to bring this up because when I posted this to a couple things, I got a lot of, hey, my dog's name Mixon, all that. So, hey, if you've got your pet with a sports name, doesn't have to be Bengals related, but throw it down there, share that kind of stuff.
And even if it's not a sports name, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
Throw a picture of your pet in the comments.
Yeah.
Let's see it. Let's see it. But do that after you hit that subscribe button, smash that bell, hit that thing. Smash that bell. Hit subscribe, drop us a comment with a picture of your pet. And actually, Mark, if I could jump on that, it's funny that you put up pictures of cats. I know a lot of guys out there like me, guys and gals, like me, that enjoy playing DFS in addition to fantasy football. And I've gone back and forth with a guy on Twitter. His @ is Detroit Beastie, and Beastie is actually the name of his cat.
There you go.
He is a Detroit fan. This guy knows his DFS back and forth. He writes for a website called Team Rise or Fall, which is all DFS, every single sport. There's promo codes. You can put in Beastie as a promo code and get a nice little bonus and stuff like that. But Detroit Beastie, his name is Chris Robin. He also does some free YouTube videos, for instance, on Thursday Night Football, where he just gives away some tips on lineups and stuff like that. Team Rise or Fall actually had $1 million winner last week.
Wow.
Somebody that follows all their info won $1 million on I can't remember if it was DraftKings or FanDuel, but
life-changing money.
Check him out. So on Twitter @Detroit Beastie, his YouTube channel is DFS, the letter N, donuts with spaces, DFS space N space donuts, and Team Rise or Fall is the website. You won't be disappointed. He's helped me win a bunch of bucks. And hey, his name is he wrote it after his cat. So
there you go. Love it.
Go. We're sticking with the theme.
Stick with the theme. So, well, I will be watching the game with Chase and Burrow here. Chase and Burrow, the Cats, and right. we will join you right after. I know it's late for Sam. We'll be evening for you guys on the East Coast, but we'll be here with our recap. Hopefully, we're blowing the horn. Hopefully, that victory horn. We're 3-2. So, and throw us your score predictions down there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Comment, score predictions. Don't forget to like and subscribe, please.
There you go. Please, and hit those thumbs up. Helps with the analytics. So with that, I'm going to say, hoo day, everybody.
Hoo day.
Take care.